Good morning, grade 11. Today, maybe a not so marvelous Monday. I know that over the last couple of months, there's been sort of a sole focus of a lot of us on what's been going on with the coronavirus in the US. Obviously, a lot can change in 1 week. So I shifted our work for this week, and we are going to be focusing, rather than on what was planned, we're going to be looking at the protests happening around the country. I'm also posting today the end of year reflection. I know it might seem kind of wild, but if I look at the calendar here, all right, we have this week, we have next week, and then by next Friday, we need to have everything turned in because grades are going to close. The last official day of school is June 19th, all right? So for folks who've maybe gotten a little behind and have thought, oh, I have plenty of time to do all these things. Oh, there's not, I can turn stuff in late. The clock is ticking at this point. So please reach out if you need help or support from me and Mr. Ward. We both really want to see everybody passing. At this point, there's a pretty substantial number of you who do not have not reached that 60% benchmark. Some of you have already reached it, even if you don't do anything for the rest of the year. So there's a pretty wide swath. I will add to the notes here. I have not yet checked this past week's assignment. That will happen in these next couple of days. So you want to make sure that you're communicating with your teachers, email, remind, etc. So anyway, back to the assignments here. I'll talk about the end of year reflection first. So you have a lot of different potential directions you can go with this. It's a letter. So it's a Dear Mr. Galanis, Dear Mr. Ward. You can opt to write to either of us. And it's basically something that I've done every year since I've been a teacher. And the idea is that you're kind of giving us feedback. Okay, how can we do things better? At the last minute, I kind of realized there is the potential that we come back remotely. So I did add that as a question. But it's a 12-point font, letter, double space. You're going to upload it to PowerSchool. With this one, uploading the work to the week of 6/15. So this is technically the last assignment. I'm just giving it to you a little bit early. And if I scroll down, you can see there's a ton of questions, okay? You could write 2 pages on one of these questions if you wanted to. You could try to answer as many of them as you want. I want to give you guys some freedom on how you decide to do that. So you have all these questions. I would read through them all, maybe choose a few that you might want to focus on, and then see what happens when you write the letter. All right. That you can do in Word and then upload to PowerSchool. The second assignment. So I want to recognize that this is a lot for some of you. It's a lot for, I imagine, all of you. I think that depending on how cognizant you were of things a few years ago, this obviously reminds me of what happened in Ferguson, what happened when Trayvon Martin, with Trayvon Martin. But this is a lot. This is a lot more substantial in terms of the widespread nature of the protests. And similarly to your reflection, I gave you a bunch of links here. I could potentially, if I see something else that pops up this week that's awesome, I will add to it. You do not need to read all of these, okay? I'm gonna put that in caps because I feel like some of you are gonna freak out. Why did you give us so much to read? I'm gonna put it in all caps. You do not need to read every single article, okay? You could read one, if that's all you feel like you need to answer the questions, okay? But I have a few different links here. So I have one from the Telegraph, which is out of the United Kingdom. America riots, why they protests of the death of George Floyd. There's CNN Live Updates is kind of cool because they post these like little paragraph length updates throughout the day. So like they just had an update 1 minute ago since I started talking, okay? Um, and you can sort of scroll through, get the kind of bullet point version of what's going on. So for folks who aren't trying to read, you know, a detailed article, that might be a really good one to look at. PBS NewsHour, what the 1960s can teach us about modern day protests. This one has a video and an article that's pretty short. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of people quoting Martin Luther King on social media and whatnot. People from both sides of the aisle doing that. But I think PBS NewsHour tends to be really good, and they are making the connection there. Protests flare again in the U.S. amid calls to end police violence. I have one from the Alternative Press here. Which is just sort of an overview. And then there's a video. It's 26 minutes. If you want to watch it, cool. It's just sort of like a politics talk show type thing from Al Jazeera. So it's another foreign source here. And it's a panel. So you have like the first dude is like a pro-Trump guy. And the second woman is an activist who's on the ground at the protests. And then the third guy is a professor from Yale whose focus is fascism. And they all just kind of answer the host's questions. So that might be one you might want to watch. And then the response, so 1 or 2 pages. This one's not super long. I understand that we're all processing this and it's difficult, but what are so many people so upset about? All right, what happened? You know, sometimes when things like this happen, it's you know, a standalone incident. This is obviously not a standalone incident. It's something that has been happening for a very long time, and it's something that people are very frustrated about, and it's something that this incident was so grievous and so public that it really hurt people down to their core, and people are coming out for it. What are they trying to accomplish? So what are they hopeful about these demonstrations? What is Trump's role in this, and how is he responding? Since the story changes daily, you can look at what he's saying. He's been saying some stuff on Twitter per usual that, you know, obviously will change throughout the week. But really, you know, this question is, what is happening? Why is it happening? And how are people responding? And when I say people, that can be regular people or people in leadership. So those are the assignments for this week. As I said at the top, I haven't read through your work from last week yet. I will be doing that in the next few days. So if you haven't submitted that yet, please do so. Thank you so much to the people who have reached out on Remind and email. I appreciate you guys, and you know, stay positive. I hope that this week is not too difficult. And also, if you're like, man, I really don't want to process this right now, I really don't want to think about this right now, you have to do 60% of your assignments for credit for this course. If this is too much, don't do it. Go back and do one that you missed, okay? And that's fine, okay? That is certainly an option. I'm not going to be mad about it. I also am having, you know, a difficulty processing this stuff, and I tried to pick articles that I thought were informational and would be helpful in helping us, you know, process these events. So That is all. I hope that you all are safe. I miss you all. You have a couple more weeks of hard work before we shift into summer mode. Um, Please reach out, be in contact if you need to chat. All right. Have a good week, everybody.